Welcome to the Masked Man Show. I'm David Shoemaker. To my right, or sort of across the table, is Dave Schilling.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Superstar. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. I am very close to having a child. I gotta announce it here. I'm gonna have a baby next week.
Congratulations. I already knew this, but congratulations from all of the humanoids out there.
Yeah, this is big. This is big. Little tiny, little mini doink. It's a little dink. I'm having a dink.
That's...
What if my child had green hair and white face?
I mean, I think there'd be a lot of questions to ask.
My wife slept with a clown, guys. I mean, in more ways than one, this is true.
Yeah, I'm glad you got that joke before I did. Do you have a name picked out yet?
Yes, it is.
Do you really?
Braun Strowman Schilling.
That's really great. Guys, please tweet at us name suggestions for Schilling's kid. He's already rejected Max Moon Schilling.
No jobbers allowed.
Really?
Yeah, sorry. So no Barry Horowitz Schilling?
Roman Seth Dean Schilling.
It's Big Dog Schilling, actually.
Oh, Big Dog.
Because this is his yard, baby.
Yeah, when you bring him home, you're like, hey, baby, this is your crib. This is
your yard.
As you told us before the show, you're not going to be here next week.
That's correct. I'm sorry. It would be
You don't have to apologize for having your baby. The reason why I brought it up is because you're going to be at the hospital a week from now. And the great segue gods have blessed us with this. A lot of WWE talent has been spending time in the hospital lately, too.
Not for the same reasons, though.
No, not that we know of. So last week, everybody knows about this. On Friday afternoon, WWE puts out a release saying that Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns will not be at TLC, this past Sunday's pay-per-view, and would be replaced by AJ Styles and Raw General Manager Kurt Angle,
Hall
respectively.
of Famer Kurt Angle.
Yes. There's a lot of... Did they ever actually pin down what it was that everybody had? I know everyone was getting... I heard mumps very early on, and then everyone was getting tested for the mumps. There's still a lot of, viral, just vague virus talk. It's all probably very related. Our staff doctor hasn't been in this week, so I haven't been able to ask him. But, yeah, that's a weird look. Weird look for WWE, and yet, there's card subject to change on the one hand. The other longtime in and out motto of WWF, WWE is anything can happen. The first one is covering your ass. The second one is to, keep this level of excitement up. Anything can happen. It's pro wrestling. It's crazy. It's scripted. It's whatever. It certainly felt going in like the most anything can happen pay-per-view in a while.
Yeah, we got a lot of complaints that, why didn't you guys do an emergency podcast? Well, we plan our lives around our lives as opposed to stopping everything to do a podcast.
We're going heel.
I apologize for not being able to come in and redo all of our predictions and whatnot, but it did add so much of that anything goes quality to the pay-per-view. I had no idea how long that show was going to last. I didn't know if they were going to add a match, if Kurt Angle was going to take any bumps. The whole thing was really intriguing. Whether or not you enjoyed what you saw is another question. There was a divided opinion online about whether or not that was a good show. What did you think of the show?
I had such a hard time knowing what I thought about the show.
It's sort of like Blade Runner 2049 for me. I kind of liked it. I kind of didn't like it.
I was into it the whole time, and yet, yeah, it was just, I wasn't 100%. I felt like I wasn't 100% keyed into it.
Yeah. I think it was just because the storytelling was not where it could have been because so much changed. So you go in, you build a pay-per-view around the Shield getting back together, and then you don't get a Shield reunion, and you put Kurt Angle in the vest and the black pants and have him do the entrance and stuff, and it just felt weird to me. I was disappointed I didn't get to see the Kurt Angle, entrance and all of the pomp and circumstance and the song and all that stuff. You sort of get that when he makes his big triumphant return from the table bump. And shouts to Kurt Angle for taking that bump, taking any bumps.
I was very surprised with the amount of work that he did. At first, it seemed like this was just going to be a little, Bret Hart style, I'm going to swing a chair a few times sort of situation. There was the table bump, although that one felt pretty safe compared to some of the other just like random bumps that he was taking. There was one where he got tossed out of the ring sort of later in the match, which is a very simple, I mean, as these things go, a very straightforward sort of bump, but he kind of got tangled in the ropes and went and was falling head first, like cartoon style, like head first for a few seconds, and that was really scary.
Yeah.
That was probably my moment of greatest angst in the entire match. I got to tell you, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the match. It was very well booked for given the premise, right? I mean, the whole thing with the heel team, Braun Strowman, given what they gave themselves to work with, I thought it was a really well put together and thoroughly entertaining match. That said, two big quibbles. One, this is like this feels like the fifth time over the past in recent memory where WWE has like where the fans have functionally turned a character babyface or heel, and WWE seemingly acknowledges it by the positions they put that person in. I'm speaking of Braun Strowman here, and then decided for some reason there was the necessity to sort of like soft reset him as a heel so we can get a really triumphant babyface turn. No, Strowman was already the biggest babyface on the roster, right?
Well, I think it's partially because we all thought, oh, Roman Reigns tries to murder him in the ambulance. Now he's a babyface because he made this, monster exit out of the ambulance. Okay, he's a babyface to us. But you can't turn babyface on Roman Reigns.
Well, sure, but then they were like they were giving him all these babyface spots. They were letting him like cheer, raise his hands in victory at the end of the show and that kind of stuff. And he was squaring off against people like Brock Lesnar. I mean,
Brock Lesnar is ostensibly a babyface right now.
I think none of them really have a place, and it was always. I thought the stare down between the Reunited Shield and Strowman was awesome, and you could still put Braun in that match without it just sort of feeling like an old school Survivor Series match where all the heels just are like, yeah, we're friends because we hate good things, like it was just like, it didn't feel quite, I don't know. I was a little bit back and forth on it. The real thing that bugged me, and I'm not sure this affected my enjoyment of the match at all, but it's sort of like looking back at it. You remember Survivor Series 2014 when Roman Reigns got hurt and they replaced him with Dolph Ziggler. Dolph was the sole survivor. We were all super stoked for a Dolph Ziggler push that never happened, because Roman Reigns came back a month later or something, and then that was it. And then you realize, I don't know if we all realized it right at the time, but you realize pretty shortly thereafter, you realize that they didn't change the booking plans at all. They just found the highest level babyface who wasn't in the match, which was Dolph, put him in there. He filled Roman Reigns' spot without any changes to the script. That's why he was the sole survivor, and then they just forgot that they just gave that shine back to Roman when he came back. I feel like if you look back at it, at this past TLC, Kurt Angle just played Roman Reigns' part.
Yep.
There was zero of it that would have been different, except for a couple of angle slams, if Roman Reigns had been playing that role. Roman would have gotten hurt. He would have been carried to the back. He would have made the crazy save at the end. They would have done the Cerberus powerbomb the exact same way. Roman would have got the pin. Like, it's really easy to imagine what that match would have been.
Yeah. Well, it's better that they used someone like Kurt Angle, a part-time legendary character, as opposed to slotting in someone who then people will get disappointed when they don't follow up on that and give that person a push.
Yes, I agree with that, but that's it. Like, if they're going to disappoint us, this is the easiest way down from the disappointment. This is the best. I mean, I don't know. Seeing Kurt back was really fun. He is clearly in great shape. I mean, musculature wise, I'm not sure how much Kurt Angle we need in our lives. It's just it's so harrowing to watch. Yeah,
it was scary.
They really do need a Legends division in WWE though. Let Jerry Lawler book every match, so it's just punchy, stomp.
So you mean WCW circa 1998? That's what you're looking for?
No, I want an even lighter version of it. I just want, like, we all want to see these guys. We all but just let them wrestle in a completely separate style on just a network-only show or something, and let's not worry about them having to like keep up with the Joneses out there. Just let them pop the crowd. That's all we need.
Is there a market for that?
I mean, people go see indie wrestling shows with Jerry Lawler and all kinds of Rikishi. I mean, there's a long list of past their prime wrestlers who can't particularly do,
Speaking of, we should probably touch on Jeff Jarrett.
Should we?
Do you not want to?
What is the latest?
He wrestled an indie match, allegedly.
I thought he didn't wrestle.
No, they had the match. The match is online.
Wait, I thought he didn't show up.
No, he was there. He basically fell over trying to do a power slam.
Is this different than the show he no-showed? I thought he no-showed.
No, he was. There's a video online. Our friends at ProWrestlingSheet.com have the video.
Crap, man.
I
totally missed that, and I'm happy that I missed that.
There's no evidence besides the video evidence to say that he was impaired in any way, but there are whispers behind the scenes that he came to the show drunk, that he demanded to work the match. Whether or not his demons, quote unquote, are taking over here, it's not safe. If you're going into the ring impaired, it puts yourself and your opponent in very serious danger. So maybe a Legends division isn't the best idea, David Shoemaker.
Listen, we can still do testing. There still be a wellness policy in a Legends division.
Right.
I just think it's fun. You gotta have the pop of them coming out, and then just enough, punchy kicky to make it like an actual thing and not just an entrance show.
Goldberg Lesnar is the template for this?
Well, I think that the way you would do it is get Goldberg. You get someone like Goldberg, makes a big comeback, says I gave it my best, but I'm at the age of 60, and it's time for me to transition to the
senior tour.
The senior tour.
Oh, all right. Well, WWE, you're listening. Give it a shot. Why not?
What would you be more likely to watch? 205 Live or the senior tour, WWE senior tour?
WWE senior tour, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I want to see guys like Shane Douglas or Tommy.
I think
Dreamer
they should just have a and let it rise and fall on its own merits. This doesn't need to be this doesn't need to be a retirement plan or this is not a whatever, but just only people who are too old, only people who've been drummed out of the business because of age are allowed to compete. Well, that's not true. I said Goldberg, but let the bookers be old guys who are out of work. Everything.
Dutch Mantel is available, I believe, or is he still with Impact? Who knows?
He's still with Impact, but he's probably still available. Yeah, but just guys like that would be so great.
Rock and Roll Express on top every single episode.
Yeah.
They're doing the main event. I'd pop for that.
Just find some just old announcers. I mean, Lance Russell just passed away, but
Tony Schiavone is available.
He still has a little bit of youth to him. I want some real, but that would be a good look if it was like Tony. I mean.
Let's call up Court Bauer and see if we can get Tony Schiavone for this.
No, Court Bauer is probably booking this for a show right now.
Shouts to Court Bauer. We love Court.
It totally agree. Why are we even talking about this? Oh, because Kurt Angle was back. So Kurt Angle came back, got the win. The other big beat from TLC. I mean, you guys watched the show. I don't know how much of this we need to touch on in great detail. But the other big beat was. And surprise, mumps-driven beat was AJ Styles making a surprise appearance to take on Finn Bálor. Brief aside to say, AJ was in Latin America for the WWE's tour there, and he had to fly back, was replaced by Triple H in the match, who beat Rusev, and then subsequently danced with the New Day and pedigreed one of them.
I think it was Xavier Woods who got pedigreed.
Xavier Woods.
He twerked with them.
Yeah.
It's such a classic Austin thing because Austin basically did that at WrestleMania 32.
Sure.
Where he danced with them for a second, shucked and jived. Is jived?
I'm not even getting into this, man.
Okay. And then he gave him a stunner. It was a great moment.
So we have Finn versus AJ. It was a really good match. Mm-hmm. They gave him some time. It was there was a moment leading into it when the illnesses were announced where I was like, why don't you just put Finn in with the Shield? Just combine the two matches and we're done.
Yeah.
It was clear watching the show that they really needed Bálor Styles to be an anchor match for the show. I mean, the main event was 35 minutes long. So I mean, that was time-wise, that was the real anchor. But no, I mean, everything else was pretty minimal. Right? Yep. To run down the card really quick, Sasha beat Alicia Fox, but spoilers, Alicia is now the the captain of the Raw Women's Survivor Series match team, which is really awesome. Asuka beat Emma. Another match that went, I mean, it was only 9:25, but it felt like about 5 minutes longer than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, Emma got some stuff in, and I think it wasn't just an Asuka squash. It was Asuka showing all of her stuff, and some of that stuff is defensive, or you have to really dance to get to that point, to get to set the stuff up. And I thought I was really, really impressed by that match. Now, maybe she should be squashing people, but I thought just letting people really just see everything she has to offer was the right look.
I wasn't in love with Emma's offense. I still don't necessarily believe in her slaps or various other offensive moves, but I think you're right. I think it needed to be a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Needed to be a showcase, and the right person went over, and then they did it again on Monday, which defeats the purpose of having the match.
A lot of stuff on Monday was defeated by purpose.
Or lack thereof.
Yes. Cedric Alexander and Rich Swann defeated Jack Aller and the Brian Kendrick. Since you're the 205 Live expert here,
God,
is this just like a 205, like a cruiserweight tag division that we have now?
It seems like they're going in that direction, and I've heard rumors that they're going to do a tag team championship belt on that show.
Like half of the tag teams on Raw and SmackDown are cruiserweights.
Correct. It doesn't seem like more belts are going to help.
Maybe the Bludgeon Brothers will just come in, and anybody who's like cruiserweight will just flee to 205 Live.
Yeah, because you don't want to get bludgeoned with those giant hammers.
Anyway, Alexa over Mickie James. It was what it was. It was the right way to go. Mickie James with the weird, like, boxing style. Like, I might be retiring right now, but I'm not really going to say it.
I loved it.
That was great. I think every match should end with the loser just being like, this might be the last time you see me for a while, guys. Just tears in their eyes.
It's a great babyface moment for her.
It was good. Enzo over Kalisto, which I really enjoyed that match.
Yeah, it was fine. I'm still not sold on Enzo's finisher. It takes a lot to set up, though.
Everything he does takes a lot to set up. But I think he's getting a little bit smoother, and I'm just getting a little bit more content. I'm not going to nitpick his every moment in the ring.
It could be
Kalisto
better.
is actually a really good dance partner for him because he's really acclimated to the WWE style. They both came up obviously through Florida, and I think that they meshed more than many Enzo pairings.
Yeah, because he's been working with a lot of indie guys.
Yeah.
Also, maybe Enzo is just a little bit better working on top than underneath as babyface.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. And Jason Jordan defeated Elias after throwing vegetables at him several times. I don't know. I'm not sure that in a post-beach ball era, WWE needs to be encouraging people to throw vegetables at Elias.
Definitely not. And they did it again on SmackDown with what they were calling the Usos. They had like raw fruit or something. And
yeah, this is just a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Can you get into an arena with fruit or vegetables?
Depends on the arena, but I think any produce is verboten at
I feel like
Staples
it
Center,
would not
at
be
least.
that hard.
Just a bag of stuff. Yeah, I mean,
because people show, especially in
in.
these big cities, like the ones I've lived in, New York and LA. I mean, you show up with like all of your possessions on your body,
and they barely look through your bag.
Yeah,
there's no fruit detector that's going to detect produce in your bag.
Have those fruit dogs. I got detained by a produce sniffing dog once.
Really?
Years ago, I was like
a head of lettuce in your backpack.
I was a kid. I mean, I was in like high school or something, and spent like a summer with like a group traveling through Europe, and we were staying at like host homes for part of it. And one of the people had like packed me. They would pack me snacks during the day, and it was wonderful of them. And I wouldn't eat them all. I would keep them, and just totally forgot. Like a week later, I'm flying out. That I had like some oranges in my bag, and there's this like cute little beagle that's like sniffing my bag, and I just sort of was laughing at it and like thought it was really cute, and then looked up and realized that these like very serious security guards are like, "What the hell is in your bag, you kid?"
Wow, that must have been a moment.
The answer was oranges.
It wasn't weed.
Back to the lesson at hand, which is Finn Bálor, AJ Styles, really good 20-minute match, 18-minute, 20-second match to be precise, and I just recommend you watch it.
Yeah.
The beat that matters, they could have had the greatest match in the history of WWE history. All we should be talking about right now is that moment at the end, after the match, when they put their hands up, gave the little Wolfpack 2 sweet kiss. Do you think, wrestling expert Dave Schilling,
I am an expert.
Do you think that this was a meaningful moment, or was it just they did the thing to get the pop and we're never going to, then there's no plans in place for this to be something more?
I don't think there are any plans. AJ Styles actually said on Twitter, I believe, somewhere on social media, that it was something they came up with to do. It wasn't a directive from Vince. It wasn't a plan. It was just like, we want to do this. And obviously it wasn't a problem because Kevin Dunn cuts to it and you get the big close-up and it's a wonderful moment. That said, I think it's significant in wrestling history because this is a moment that signifies that these guys who made their name elsewhere, in Japan, doing a gimmick that, quite frankly, WWE probably hates. They probably can't stand this Bullet Club thing because they constantly have to talk about it. And the Young Bucks right now obviously are poking them a bunch. And Cody Rhodes even offered a discount on tickets to the Ring of Honor show Saturday before wherever they are. Is it Royal Rumble? Before Survivor Series.
Yeah.
The night of the NXT TakeOver War Games to the McMahons. So discounted tickets if you're a McMahon. So they're just kind of continuing this angle. So it feels like WWE, either by accident or on purpose, and it seems like by accident, are trying to claim this legacy of the Bullet Club for themselves, which makes sense. They own Too Sweet. They own a lot of the iconography that the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Cody are using to get over. So it's like a moment where the Bullet Club is showing that they're the most influential group ever.
Clearly it was influenced by the fact that WWE is suing them. I mean, suing the Bucks. Like, there's all this stuff is out there. This, I'm not sure how much any of the New Japan or anyone else is really getting horning on WWE's audience. If it's affecting, it's not like the Monday Night Wars or anything, but it certainly feels like the moment, like for hardcore wrestling fans like us, when there are the most things outside of Raw and SmackDown wrestling products for you to watch, right?
Yeah.
We got New Japan, we have NXT if you want to count that, and of course there's like
Ring of Honor, and Impact.
Is Impact still on?
For now.
Just kidding.
For now.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. I was working on a crackpot conspiracy theory that by hiring Finn, WWE actually created this situation. Because that's when AJ went over there. That's what, obviously there's a lot of Americans working in Japan, but that sort of opened the floodgates. Like, once the Bullet Club was like hiring, it opens the floodgates for all these people to go over there, and then it really raises the profile of all these people working the indies in the U.S.
Yeah, if they hadn't hired Finn Bálor, AJ Styles, and Gallows and Anderson in a relatively short period of time,
if they hadn't hired, go ahead,
there would be no Kenny Omega, there would be no Young Bucks, and this group would not have been able to bubble up.
There still would be Kenny
surface.
Omega and Young Bucks, so please don't tweet at Schilling or me about this.
But it would be different. It would be totally different.
Yeah, and I think it's like Finn is the linchpin. If they don't hire Prince Devitt, then they of course would never have hired Gallows and Anderson. Maybe someday or whatever, but like that was, they kind of followed him in, and then AJ would have never gone, or conceivably never been in the Bullet Club, and that raised his profile. I think obviously he's a very famous guy, but that had to help get him in WWE's radar. I think it's sort of weird to think about.
There is one rumor that we should address that we heard from a source, and keep in mind this is just a rumor.
Oh man, do you really want to say it? I feel like this is like if this is,
you don't want to say it?
No, I think we should say it. I just think this is like a spoilery. I don't think that it's necessarily true at all, but this is the sort of thing that, like, if you're gonna get mad at rampant speculation, then just fast forward for 30 seconds.
So
let's call it 2 minutes.
Okay, or don't fast forward and just hear me out, people. We've heard that there's a possibility that WWE is considering reforming the New World Order as a way to combat the sale of Bullet Club T-shirts.
I think it's a weird, like, it's so bizarre that it actually makes a certain sort of WWE sense that they would be like, well, like we'll have cooler T-shirts. We can just kind of subsume the Bullet Club into the NWO, make all the former Bullet Clubbers NWO members or something, and just, like, I don't know what it would be, but
it makes a certain amount of sense because when you really step back and you consider what the Bullet Club is, it's the NWO.
Sure.
So why not just say we have the original, we own the trademark, even though you don't like that
Well,
logo?
they copied the NWO from Japan back in WCW.
Yes,
So it's a never-ending cycle.
Yes, the WWE in wrestling is a snake eating its tail forever.
Anyway, that's an interesting thing. It would be very weird if they did something with that, but also very cool. I'm kind of surprised. Not surprised. I'm disappointed that they didn't use the craziness of the roster shakeup on Sunday to do something crazier right there at the moment.
I feel like they're not ready to do something that big. That would be huge. And
you got to do what you can do at every given moment, man.
If you're still listening and you didn't fast forward because you don't like rampant speculation, tweet at us at Maskman Show and tell us who you think should be in the new World Order.
Should we, the New World Organization. Do you think they have a trademark on the New World Organization?
I'm sure they have a treasure trove of trademarks they just haven't used, just in case.
So I think if you want to just give them the benefit of the doubt, even if there's someone suggested, hey, why don't we just do this? Why don't we make our own Bullet Club on Sunday at TLC? I think it's fair to say that if they thought about it, the reason why they didn't do it is because they knew they already had an invasion angle planned for the next day.
Exactly.
So let's get to Raw. Raw was I didn't love Raw, and then got to, I think Dan St. Germain texted and said it was the worst Raw of all time, and I was just like,
he says that every
you know what,
week.
I agree, but it wasn't great. I feel like for what, whatever. Forgive WWE for just sort of cutting and pasting TLC, with the exception of, Bálor versus AJ. Which was a very good match, as I said. But for the main event, just sort of sticking with what they had. But by Monday they had time to rejigger it a little bit, and it just felt like the exact same thing. Braun Strowman selling a trash compactor injury. I don't know if that was necessary.
Is it an injury or is it a mortal fatality, like a death?
Is there any way? Is there any way that anyone could get you into a garbage truck to do that? Even if it the guy running it was look, I'm gonna do it first, and then got in there.
I don't know how you gimmick a garbage truck.
Yeah, it's a giant piece of machinery.
That's why they call it magic backstage.
That's crazy. That's I've made sure that this bulldozer is not capable of running into your house. Now I'm going to let a 4-year-old drive it towards your house. No, there's no way you would trust that.
That match had a hell of a 3-act structure, let me tell you. The beginning, the middle, and the end all felt like 3 different matches.
Yes, 3 different days even. So anyway, on Raw, suffice it to say, a whole bunch of nothing happened. Brock Lesnar accepted Jinder Mahal's challenge, blah, blah, blah. Interestingly, I guess, AJ teamed up with Dean Ambrose and Seth at the beginning of the show to take on Miz, Cesaro, and Sheamus. And, that kind of set the tone that, hey, AJ's still here. And then later on, Shane makes an appearance backstage to talk to Kurt Angle. That felt like a fun moment. But then at the end of the show, Kurt comes out to announce, putatively to announce the Raw Survivor Series team. And he's confronted by Shane and the entire, or a huge portion of the SmackDown roster, many of whom had been feuding with one another mere moments before. What in kayfabe? What is how does this work? Does Shane just kind of send out in kayfabe? Mm-hmm. Shane, what do you think? Sends out a mass text to all of the SmackDown or an email or whatever.
They could have a closed door meeting,
Slack. Maybe there's a Slack channel. But closed door meeting to all of the roster, presumably sans Owens and Sammy, who are just on Shane's shit list. Mm-hmm. Just mass text to everybody there, and he's just like, I'll give you an extra $5,000 or something if you show up on Raw and help me beat some people up for me.
Potentially,
I guess in kayfabe, if you want to go deep kayfabe, there's this great SmackDown pride, but that didn't exist 2 days before, so I don't know.
Well, it magically shows up every year at Survivor Series time. And it happened last year, and we were complaining about the same thing of why are these guys and gals fighting together, and why is Bayley beating up on somebody when Bayley's supposed to be the sweetest wrestler in the world, and all this stuff. I
took my lumps last week, the week before, for saying that the Survivor Series was not the only pay-per-view that where superstars from Raw and SmackDown brands could go head to head.
You were right.
you were right at the time, I guess, but it's mind-boggling that they would keep spitting out this catchphrase the night after AJ Styles was on a Raw pay-per-view and on an episode of Raw that AJ Styles wrestled on.
I think there's a way to say, like, oh, AJ Styles was the sleeper agent. Mm-hmm. He's the one that opened the door. Shane McMahon is like, oh, yeah, you can have my WWE SmackDown talent. That's fine, wink. 30. And then he's part of the invading force. It's kind of clever, if not totally explicit.
Okay, so let's just cut to it. They go backstage. They come to the ring. Kurt Angle kind of like weirdly waddles off, and then Shane sends the crew after him. They go backstage and beat up everybody, and just great. I mean, they're just a conquering mob running through two guys at a time. There was a weird moment where they found like all of the Raw women's wrestlers, and it was in just like basically even numbers. The SmackDown women's wrestlers beat them up in 5 seconds. But aside from that, and there was that kind of hilarious moment where Dean and Seth like jumped off of things. It's like, dude, you have a great hiding place. Just stay there. Yeah. And then they got Kurt and took him back to the ring, and basically were just like just a show of force. It's a hashtag under siege. Shane does not have his father's ability to take one bullet point and turn it into a promo. Not really. I mean, he's definitely of the 3 or 4 McMahons, if you count Linda, the third worst. Linda's obviously the worst promo of all the McMahons. Stephanie and Vince are close. Did you see that speech she gave by the Trump Hotel? That's true. It was a pretty good promo. Got a lot of heat with me. Anyway, I don't want to get into politics here, but there were things about it that frustrated me, as good as it came off on television. Specifically, the people who were on different brands last year. Dean Ambrose, in kayfabe, as a character, should be thinking, SmackDown was pretty good for me. I was a WWE champion. Mm-hmm. I was on top of the card. I was wrestling in main events. And now here I am on Raw, tag team with Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, doing the same shtick we were doing 3 years ago. Probably selling more shirts. But he was so proud of SmackDown last year. He loved SmackDown, and now he's like, Team Raw all the way, bleeds red. I mean, we all bleed red. There are a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters that voted for Trump, man. You can just turn. It's not that hard to make a right turn. Okay, so I mean, and then on SmackDown, Raw did not show up. So I guess they're saving that for the future. Yeah, you want to stretch it out. You've got 3 weeks left of it was good. It was good to see SmackDown take the first swing, because they are a little bit more of a. You can see them more of like a family, a small unit, and then they are the underdog. So let them be the invading force. I think every year at Survivor Series, you're going to see SmackDown be the babyface. Who do we think is going to be the babyface brand? They just went and beat up a bunch of people backstage for no reason. That's kind of cool. I guess. Don't you think that's a babyface move in 2017? So, who do you think is going to be on the two teams? This is a tough question, because there's a lot of big names that are not going to be a part of it because they're working singles matches, because we found out on Raw that we're going to have champion versus champion in matches. Like every category. Yes, all across the board, save for the cruiserweight division, obviously. So Seth and Dean are out. Mm-hmm. Do we know, has there been an update on Bray and Roman Reigns? They're not coming back for a bit. I have heard some rumblings that Roman Reigns will come back around the pay-per-view. But let's just assume, for the sake of it, that he's not going to be there. So let's keep him out, and let's keep Bray Wyatt out, just because they're not on TV right now. I would say you got to have AJ Styles in there. You got to have Finn Bálor in there. I was going to mention that earlier. That's an interesting. It's interesting based on what happened on Sunday. Shinsuke Nakamura has nothing going on. No, and on SmackDown, Orton beat Sami Zayn to earn his way onto the team. One would assume that will mean that Shinsuke is going to beat Kevin Owens next week to earn his way onto the team. And you're right, we have sort of a babyface team taking shape. Maybe Shane and Kurt will both straight up be on the teams. Yeah. Who knows? This is the first time we've had general managers that have like recently worked matches, I think. Yeah, I wouldn't be against that. I think it would be fun to see those two wrestle. Sure. Again, and after having that classic at King of the Ring many, many years ago, where Shane McMahon almost died. That's a regular occurrence. I mean, it's not it's not that uncommon. So, I mean, are there going to be other matches at the pay-per-view, you think? Like, are we going to get Strowman versus Kane as just a standalone match?
I think that's not a crazy hypothesis. I also would not be surprised to see Owens and Zayn versus the New Day or something like that, because I don't think Owens and Zayn being on the SmackDown Survivor Series team makes any sense.
The New Day were right behind Shane when they made their appearance on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, they could be Shane's White Knights in this sort of intra-promotional feud.
Right. I think that it would be a good look for them to sort of separate them from the tag division too.
And give them a high-profile feud against two top guys.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like SmackDown you can make a couple of, I mean, you put, well, I guess Baron Corbin, is it going to be
Corbin versus The Miz? That should be a barn burner. Who's the babyface on that?
The Miz.
In that match.
This is when they won't be able to stop The Miz from turning face.
It'll be a repeat of No Mercy, where he was the biggest babyface on the show.
All right.
10 minutes left.
Yeah, we didn't do a very good job of like outlining the teams. I'm just like looking back at the TLC. I mean, the women's side is a little bit more cut and dried. Speaking of the women's side, I guess we got to call out the fact that SI, Sports Illustrated, has a piece today by Justin Barrasso who said that Nia Jax apparently didn't want to job or lose to Sasha Clean at TLC, called The Rock, and The Rock was like, if you're not happy, then walk out.
Which is so strange to me because, I mean, basically this is what happened with Stone Cold Steve Austin many, many years ago, I believe 2003 or whenever it was. And The Rock was the guy who came out and cut the promo that said, if you don't want to be here, then get the F out to Steve Austin. Of course, kayfabe. Who knows what The Rock really thought about all of that stuff. But it's a curious thing to be able to do such a thing. You have to assume Nia Jax gets a special dispensation for being related to the People's Champion. I
mean, from a purely, logistical point of view, it's helpful for her to kind of disappear while Asuka's making her first run, too.
Yeah. You don't want to be straight in front of that buzzsaw as she starts.
Well, I mean, for her, but also for WWE, because you don't want to, ideally, you don't want to demean Nia into being just part of the first run of quick victories or whatever.
That could be a money match down the road if you build up Nia Jax properly.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, Finn feels like the only sure thing.
Can we get Gallows and Anderson on this team somehow?
Oh, that's interesting.
And really create that Bullet Club.
I think if we ever do see the Bullet Club, the Gallows and Anderson are they're more of a hammer than actual participants. We'll know. I was, of course, thinking about this on Sunday night. You would know that something was happening when they come out.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need them there the whole time just to tease you.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, it's gonna be really weird. Jason Jordan will probably inevitably be on this team.
Definitely. Survivor Series last year was one of the stranger pay-per-views, but I think one of the stronger pay-per-views. And we did that live commentary after, and we were both gobsmacked at the whole Goldberg-Lesnar thing. Mm-hmm. So there is a precedent for this being kind of a wild show. So I'm hoping they follow up on that, and we get a little bit more of that unpredictability that we got so much at TLC by accident because of health problems.
I'm really looking at the what. I gotta just pull up the Raw roster. I literally can't find 5 people to be on this team.
You're wrong. There's tons.
Of course, there's tons, but five headline-ish people.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. We want to go to Wikipedia?
I think. Yeah, go to Wikipedia. Jason Jordan and Finn Bálor, I think, are guaranteed.
Kurt Angle? I mean, you could almost have to put... Okay, so Apollo Crews, no. Big Cass hurt. Big Show out. Bo Dallas mumps. Braun Strowman. I mean, maybe Strowman... You can slide Strowman and or Kane into this match because they're two of the biggest stars. But who knows? Bray Wyatt presumably out. Brock is otherwise occupied. I mean, Cesaro and Sheamus are very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, they're certainly big and high enough profile to work that match.
Definitely.
But, I mean, I guess that would make sense. So we can slide those guys in there. Hawkins, no. Axel, no. Young, no. Wilder, no. Ambrose, tag match. Elias
could fit in there. I mean, he's obviously very popular with the booking committee.
Yeah. Goldust, no. Heath Slater, no. Jason Jordan, we talked about. Jeff Hardy's out. John Cena.
I've heard John Cena might be a special guest referee for the title match. Or I forget what match it was exactly, but I think it was a title match.
It would be weird for him to be too pro Raw after having spent less time on Raw.
He's a free agent. He can be anything he wants to be.
Is he back to free agency now?
Yeah.
He just signed like a short-term deal.
He can go back and forth.
It was like a 10-day contract.
John Cena can do anything he wants.
Anderson and Gallows, we discussed. Matt Hardy, I guess, is always looming around.
Yep.
Mrs. IC title. R-Truth, no. Rhino, no. Roman, who knows? Samoa Joe, is he?
He's supposed to be back soon. That could be a possibility. So
Dawson, no. Rollins, no. Sheamus, we discussed. Titus O'Neil, no. I mean, there's not a lot of options there.
We have more than 5 legitimate options.
We just put the Bar. Okay, the Bar are in.
Yeah, because they have nothing else to do.
So Finn,
Jason Jordan,
the Bar,
and then you got Kurt Angle maybe in there.
Kurt Angle and then there's this like Kurt Angle / Matt Hardy / Samoa
Roman
Joe
Reigns / Roman Reigns if he comes back.
Yeah, I think that Roman. I mean, I think that Roman can just take Jason Jordan's spot if he comes back.
Yeah.
You know, but whatever. Yeah, I'm just saying, without Strowman and Kane, not a lot of options.
Yeah.
But maybe they force them to work together and then they fight each other again, and that's how SmackDown wins.
Speaking of Kane, before we go, can I get your take on Finn Bálor jobbing in 5 minutes to Kane?
Honestly, I was not mad about it when I watched it in real time and then started hearing my buddies react and stuff, and I was like, yeah, that was kind of dumb. But at the same time, it's like Finn Bálor is an underdog to these behemoths.
Yeah.
Right? If the idea is that, you know, we want him to look like a legitimate threat to Brock Lesnar at some point, like he's never going to be, I mean, he's always going to be the underdog. He's presumably going to have to earn that opportunity by whatever contrivance, you know, winning a match or whatever else, and he'll do it then. I don't think that,
there is a case to be made that Finn Bálor is the rightful heir to Daniel Bryan's throne as the plucky underdog.
I mean, I think that WWE would as opposed to Daniel Bryan, I think WWE would like us to forget that Finn Bálor is shorter than everybody else.
Right.
It's not so much a part of his gimmick, but yeah, I mean, definitely he's going to be working as an underdog. Just seeing him next to I guess I found it hard to get that outraged about him jobbing to Kane. Kane really needs the shine much more than Finn, and Finn looked really great the night before, you know?
50-50 booking. It's a thing. Love it or leave it.
Yeah. I was really hoping on Sunday night that instead of, like, after Kurt Angle went out, I was really hoping that the finish would be Roman Reigns coming to the ring in a bubble boy bubble. And just
but with the hands, so he can still Superman punch people through the bubble.
Wouldn't that have been great?
I would have popped for it.
But if he works,
that was a pun, by the way. I would have popped for
it. Can't
it.
pop, man. Got to be careful with those viral infections. If
3 minutes.
If he comes back, you know, I guess that would be a good look. If he comes back with like the, you know, mouth the doctor's face guard, whatever it's called.
No,
he's got
to come back with a Bane mask.
Oh yeah.
You knew I'd come back. I'm Roman Reigns.
You could just have somebody else do his voice. Just like it could be
Bruce Pritchard.
Was it Arn Anderson with a voice box?
Oh,
Is that what
the
Shockmaster was?
Yes, I think it was Arn.
Or Ole. It was Ole.
Ole, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So, what else do we need to talk about? So we're through. We talked about Raw. We talked about SmackDown. We're just making jokes about pay-per-views at this point.
You adopted the dog.
Nothing happened on SmackDown. We actually. I was going to talk about the Bludgeon Brothers. We already talked about that.
The continued deglorification of SmackDown goes on.
You think it's lacking in glory?
I think that Bobby Roode is not going the way they wanted it to, or maybe the perfect way. Because we talked about last week, maybe they are just setting him up for a big turn. I think it's not been great.
You think Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler will be fighting again at SummerSlam, or are they both going to be on Team SmackDown?
There's a 2 out of 3 falls match next week. That's got to be the blow-off.
So they could both be on Team SmackDown.
I would be fine with Bobby Roode ending up on SmackDown's big team.
We didn't really talk. Jinder Mahal and Brock Lesnar both jawed at each other this week. It's going to be a wacky one.
The Singh brothers did their best Paul Heyman impression.
Yeah.
That's going to be a rough match.
This is going to be a weird pay-per-view.
Yep. I love it. I love Survivor Series now. I'm all pro Survivor Series. I think it's getting slightly more interesting than SummerSlam right now. SummerSlam, they just pack so much shit into it, and it's really long, and it's starting to feel more and more WrestleMania-esque. The Brooklyn crowd brings it down.
I mean, it's fun when you go into a show where the point is to tell a story. Now, how much? I know if the story is Raw versus SmackDown, it's like how this isn't going to last for very long, right? I mean, I guess they could, so it takes a little bit of the thunder out of it. But yeah, sure, it's fun to watch a show where it's going to be like that they're going to. Do you know that you're going to like see a story told within the 3 hours of the show?
And Survivor Series has been the redheaded stepchild of the big four pay-per-views for over a decade.
Jack Gallagher takes exception to that statement.
Or Sheamus. But finally, they have a gimmick that they're going to use consistently, hopefully many, many years down the road. It's better than bragging rights, because that was the big Raw vs. SmackDown pay-per-view. And it's fun to look forward to a specific gimmick the same way that the Royal Rumble is fun to look forward to.
I just wish it wasn't as stupid as show pride, because they don't have that. There's no evidence of that existing barely any time except for like those occasional Dean Ambrose as champion moments.
Or AJ Styles as champion.
I know he's
the
like
house that AJ built.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. I mean, you could see that, but I wish there were just like some like concrete stipulations. Yeah. Whatever team wins this match, like you all get main event you all get WrestleMania matches or something.
Something that gives it stakes would be helpful, and we made the same complaint last year.
Or like the old baseball, like
home field advantage in the World Series.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like you don't all get something, but like the winner of this match gets a bonus. Gets the whatever gets a handicap bonus at like WrestleMania or something like that.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Anyway, heel producer Jim says it's time to go, so we're just about out of time here.
I have to do what he tells me to do.
Schilling, good luck having a child.
Thank you.
I hope that it's not a doink. Although there's some sort of relief that would come with his whole life being plotted out as the moment that he appears to the world.
I'm hoping for a Dwayne The Rock Johnson and not a Rocky Maivia is all I can say.
And I hope that you get what you ask for, wish for, whatever. Have a great week, humanoids. Hope you enjoyed TLC. We'll see you back here next week. Apologies, as always, to Dean Ambrose. This is the Masked Man Show, part of the Ringer Podcast Network.